An interim report into that train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, shows that the crew tried to slow the freight train after receiving a warning about an overheating wheel bearing. The National Transportation Safety Board says an engineer tried to put on the brakes, but it was too late. 50 cars derailed, some which were carrying toxic chemicals. Transportation Secretary Pete Butitigeg visited East Palestine today, but he's being criticized for not coming earlier. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre responded to that criticism this afternoon.
When you think about how this response occurred, right, how it's been going from literally since 2 a.m. February 4th, you've seen the EPA on the ground. You saw Administrator Regan doing a great job on the ground, making sure that he was with the community, talking, taking questions, working with the governor. You've heard from the governor directly, Governor DeWine, actually speak to the federal response that he truly appreciated the work that we have done for the community. So yes, the president is certainly again staying updated on what is occurring on the ground, but also appreciative of the work that his multi-agencies have been doing over the past several weeks.
Kasie Locke and her family live in East Palestine, although for the last little while they've been about 15 minutes away in another city. Kasie joins us now, along with 2-month-old baby Luke there as well, who you can see in his mother's arms. So Kasie, thank you once again for joining us to talk about all of this at a time which I can only imagine is quite stressful for you and your family.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Your community, again, the focus of attention today. Like we were just saying, we've heard from the Transportation Secretary, Pete Butitigeg. He visited today. A lot of other transportation officials are there as well, trying to put out some of what they've learned, some of these initial findings. What do you make of this? What do you make of some of what you've heard today from some of these officials?
I mean, it is nice that we're kind of finally getting the attention that we need and want. He does seem remorseful for not being there earlier, which is nice. But, you know, when something like this happens, unfortunately, it's already too late, and it would be nice if things were put in place before something like this would happen.
Well, and I want to ask you about that because we do seem to have a little bit of an idea now of what happened leading up to the crash. But is that what you want to know about, or do you sort of want to know what happens next? Have you been getting any answers to what happens next?
Yeah, so we're kind of looking to see what would happen next. I know it was mentioned that from here on out, you know, if you live in a town such as East Palestine that has a major railway through it, that you're notified of any toxic chemicals that may be going through town. You know, instances like that where you would be notified of things that may or may not happen in the future, and certain regulations that have to be made would be nice.
Kasie, we can see, of course, little baby Luke there. Like I say, he's 2 months old. You and I spoke last weekend, along with your husband, Nate, as well. How have you been doing since then, in these days since we last spoke? What's it been like the past couple of days?
It's still hard. I mean, I'm trying to kind of get a grasp on our new normal for the moment, and kind of go along with things in that sense. But we still really don't know what's going on, and I wish I had more to tell you, but we're not much different than we were last week, unfortunately. Right now, it's just trying to get used to our new normal.
And your new normal involves being in North Lima, where you are right now, staying with some family. Tell me what that's been like. What conversations that you're having with other people who have been affected, your neighbors as well, now that they're out of their homes as well.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I've been doing quite a few of these interviews trying to get the word out, and people have actually been using me kind of as a resource, you know, to try to get some information out there. My sister is telling me, you know, mention this, mention that. And yeah, I mean, it's been a lot, and we're doing the best we can.
You mentioned to me, Kasie, when we spoke a couple days ago, that you wanted to see some of these officials who kept claiming that everything was okay, that the water was okay, that you wanted them to go to East Palestine and drink the water and breathe the air. We have seen a little bit of that the past couple of days. Does that make you feel any better now that some of these federal and state officials have been in the community? Does that make you feel any better?
I'm on the fence. You can come and stay a couple hours. You can have a glass of the water. But, we have to stay there permanently. Well, we don't have to, but, we're faced with that decision to stay there permanently. So, yes, it's nice, but is it enough?
And that's the question that you're still trying to grapple with or trying to deal with. What about
Yes.
going home? Do you think that you and your husband Nate and Luke, do you think that you will go home anytime soon?
It is absolute last resort. And that may be drastic to some other people, but it's not drastic to me. I mean, it's last resort. I still, my sister can't drink her water, and she has an independent well, and she's 4 miles away. So me being 1 mile, I don't know that it's an option to go back.
Have you heard from officials about what would happen to your homes, your home, your neighbor's home, if and when you made that decision not to go back there? Have those conversations started?
No. And we're actually hoping to hear somewhat of something from either local government or higher up government as to what they would do for people who own homes, who are stuck with a mortgage now, that, a property that has lost value that we don't know what to do with. I'm paying on a mortgage right now for a home that I really don't have necessarily.
As we look to the future here, of course, I think we can probably expect that we're going to continue to hear more and more from some of these officials, now that there's very much a spotlight on the community. What are you going to be looking for, listening for in the days ahead, Kasie?
More of, this sounds selfish, but what my family would benefit from. And I know I'm not the only family out there that's asking these questions as to what to do with our home that we own. So that's what I'm looking for. Because unfortunately, I may sound stubborn, but I have a hard time believing anything at this point, being that no one was honest up front. So that's what I'll be looking for, is what we can do with our home, or, to sell it now that it's lost value. And maybe if they would, the government would offer assistance with independent testing of water, air, and soil continuously for, up to 6 months.
Okay, Kasie, we're going to leave it there for today, but I want to thank you again for finding some time to speak with us. We'll be thinking about you and wish you and your husband and little baby Luke there as well all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kasie Locke of East Palestine, Ohio.